I've brought you back now towards the middle of the Abbey to continue the story as to how Selby Abbey came to be here. I mentioned that Benedict, the French monk from Auxerre, had come here, inspired by a vision of St. Germain, to start the Abbey off in 1069, and that he was quickly joined by other Christians who wanted to be part of his monastic brotherhood and to found the Abbey. And as the number of monks grew, he built some very simple early buildings and an early church in which they could live and work. Well, some years later, in 1097, Benedict, the first abbot and founder of Selby Abbey, moved on. He retired and went elsewhere in retirement. And the Archbishop of York appointed as a successor the second abbot, who was called Hugh. Now, Hugh came down to Selby from Durham, where they were just building the great Durham Cathedral that you can see there still today. And because he'd experienced the building of that great cathedral, he thought, why can't we do something similar in Selby for our abbey here? And so it was Hugh, the second abbot of Selby, who started building the church that still remains to this day. The building started in the year 1100, and this part of the abbey is part of the original building that Hugh started. In fact, the pillar next to me is often called Hugh's Pillar because it has this diamond pattern on it, which is very similar to all the pillars in Durham Cathedral, where Hugh came from. And we think he probably got the idea of that design from there. Although in Durham, all the pillars have this pattern on it, whereas in Selby, this is the only one, Hugh's Pillar. Well, as the years progressed, the church was finished, and many more buildings were built to surround it, and gradually more and more people came to live in the area around Selby, and the town grew and grew and grew. So much so that in the 14th century, it was decided that the church wasn't big enough for all the monks that were here, and they decided to demolish the eastern end of the abbey, which is where the monks worshipped, and to rebuild it in a longer and bigger style, and that was finished. Our new extension, only 700 years, was finished in the 14th century when there were many, many more monks here, and it was one of the biggest abbeys and monasteries in the north of England.